not saying mammograms are that important, but for women who are at risk, there's a new technology called QT imaging. And there's now about, I think, 8 of them in the United States. And QT imaging is much more accurate than a mammogram and exposes you to no radiation. It doesn't compress the breast. And mammograms can't even look at dense breasts or breasts with implant well anyway. So QT imaging, the breast dangles in a body temperature water bath with no compression and with a high revolving ultrasonic acoustical measurement. It creates a 3D modeling of the AI of the breast, so the radiologist can see much better without any radiation exposure than a mammogram could ever test for. And the beauty is you don't have to go through a biopsy because you tell whether it's cancer or not just by following on a test. Right? So it prevents women from getting needless biopsies. If you want to corroborate that, we can use blood testing, but the whole point is keep women who don't need it away from pathologists and biopsy. Yes.
Dr. Fuhrman, thank you for tonight. My question is, you showed a slide with the benefits of onions,
yes.
And I'm wondering if is that cooked or raw? And then my other question you can answer, are there any fish that are safe? Because you can go to the fish store and they got wild caught salmon and different things like that.
The first question about, yes, we want you to put the onion on your salad raw, scallions raw, because the enzyme called alliinase, ALLINASE, alliinase, you have to know how to spell it because you get triple points in Scrabble, with 2 L's and 2 I's, ALLIINASE, alliinase, is heat sensitive. So when you're cooking it, you know when you cut an onion raw, it makes your eyes tear. You're releasing sulfenic acid as you form anti-cancer organosulfide compounds. If you cook the onion and then cut it, you get no eye tearing. You would deactivate inflammation of the anti-cancer compounds, which means the amount of anti-cancer benefits are based on how well you chew the onion, because when you cut it, you don't break open every cell. So you're still having a lot of cells in there. So if you chew it really well with the sprouts, with the lettuce, and liquefy it in your mouth, when you leave here, you really got to think about how well you're chewing your salads and inhibiting swallowing, so you can try to liquefy it before you allow it to be swallowed. And eating raw onion, even if you don't like raw onion, even a little bit adds tremendous anti-cancer power to the meal. It doesn't mean you can't eat cooked up onions. It just means include raw onion or raw scallion in your meal.
All right, we've got time for one more, but the good news is this. He's not leaving right away, so if there's a few quick questions, then I need to take them back, because he's had a long day. But, last question.
Yes, what are your thoughts on hormone replacement therapy?
My thoughts on hormonal replacement therapy is that if you take estrogen with progesterone, it increases risk of breast cancer. If you take estrogen without progesterone, it increases risk of uterine cancer. So we try to have women use these natural things like flax seeds, soybeans, maca, things that, and get used to having a low level of estrogen before they go through menopause, which tunes down the estrogen receptors, which they don't have these estrogen deprivation symptoms after menopause. So we try to avoid estrogen replacement therapy as much as possible. When a person can't live without it, then beneficial, what we would use would be local estrogen, like just vaginal estrogen, a few times a week would be better than having systemic estrogen. So we're still trying to minimize exposure to medical care. And the healthier you are, the less you're going to need that kind of stuff. When you live your life really healthily, you're not going to go through those type of menopausal problems when you go through menopause.
You got time for 2 more questions?
I got all the time in the world. Don't forget, I'm in California time. It's only 6 o'clock in the afternoon. This is not a lot of work for me. This is okay. What's work? Playing tennis is work. Playing singles tennis, that was for 2 hours. That's work.
How do you feel about CT scans for mass detection past metastatic cancer patients?
Well,
As a follow-up.
CT scans expose you to 30 times as much cancer as a regular film does. They're increases in cancer. And so yes, but however, cancer takes decades to form. So if you're within close to death, I guess it's okay to expose yourself to radiation. It's not going to kill you if you're already close to death. If you're younger, you got to really think about these things. You create other cancers. and you can accelerate cancers that are in the precancerous stage.
All right.
So we know that doctors do a lot of stuff to protect themselves from being sued, and they're not in your best interest, they're in their best interest, either economically or so they don't miss a diagnosis. And sometimes the risk-benefit ratio is not in your favor. And more recently, I'm not even recommending colonoscopies because Cologuard test is so relatively good without chance of perforation or infection from the colonoscopy. And people eating healthily, listen, so generally the more we can avoid medical care, the better.
All right, we're gonna have 2 more questions, sorry, 2 more, and then you can come up, he's not leaving right away. Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about CKD.
CKD.
Yeah,
Right.
chronic kidney disease. It's
Oh,
kinda-
CKD.
Yeah, it's kind of, not known a lot. So I wanted to ask you, have you had any experience with?
Yes, it's very common, especially among diabetics and people with high blood pressure. And yeah, yes, I mean, we see that when a person has renal insufficiency, in many cases, and in most cases, it's reversible. They can improve in the early stages, but it's very hard or difficult or almost sometimes even impossible to reverse it in late stages. Especially once a person is near needing dialysis, you're not going to get complete reversal. For example, I had one guy, he was actually, he was mayor of a city near Washington, and he had a creatinine of 2.6. That's not a creatinine of 4.2, creatinine of 2.6, it wasn't in any dialysis yet. But that first year of the diet, his creatinine went up to 1.6. And the next year of the diet, his creatinine came to 1.2. 1.2 is almost normal. He's not totally normal, but at least he's got almost no kidney disease. I had another case. This 17-year-old girl had lupus, which destroyed her kidney. She had lupus nephritis with a creatinine of 4.2. Now in her case, she followed the diet, got rid of her lupus, and the creatinine went back to 0.8. The kidneys went back to normal because it was an autoimmune attack on the kidney, and she didn't develop chronic kidney disease for decades of being battered with high blood pressure and diabetes. Those type of kidney disease are kind of not reversible, but this case, because it was an more acute attack over the last year on the kidney, for some reason the kidney came back to normal again. It was like, wow, the kidney came back to normal, this is incredible. Yeah.
Okay. I came in the dental field, and we've been told not to use lead apron anymore, and because it was actually trapping particles.
Oh, really?
What do you think about that?
I don't know much about it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, because a lot of people don't want to have X-rays anyway, and then we start.
So when you're up in the dental chair and you put a lead apron on you,
Right.
and on your thyroid, it's actually worse than not having a lead apron on.
That's what they're telling us now. The ADA did some research saying it traps the particles.
Wow, that's really interesting. I don't know anything about it,
Okay.
but it's interesting
Yeah.
that you're telling me that. I appreciate that.
Okay, and what is salmon?
The polar bear. The question is, we've exported toxins all over the world, but it's true, if you go to like Polynesia or in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, they don't eat commercial fishes. They just eat whatever different fishes are floating around there, and they're not commercially raised fishes or commercially harvested fishes, and they do have less toxins than more commercial fish do. And 30% of the wild salmon is not wild anyway. It's mislabeled as well.
All right, one last question, young lady, because I just can't say no to anybody. Mama, here we go. And before this last question, Dr. Fuhrman.
I just want to thank you so much for being on my podcast. And I want to thank my wife for being here. It was a total surprise. And I was so surprised I didn't have my books. I wasn't prepared or anything.
Excited that you were here. Good to see you again.
This was the best surprise ever. And I learned that you're a comedian. In addition to all the other things, it's just phenomenal. So we got to do a reprise. I'm going to invite you to dinner. How long are you in town?
I'll leave it tomorrow morning.
Can we do breakfast or something? Tonight?
I gotta leave pretty early.
You gotta leave early. Oh my goodness.
But good to see you.
Good to see you too. We'll do it again soon.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.